ज्ञानानन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणी। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी नमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the bhaktisashtri Isopanisad course. We just started discussing Mantra18 in our last class, and today we will continue the discussion. But once again, we'll recap from the beginning of Mantra18, and then we'll continue our discussion further. So today is going to be the last class on Isopanishads. So let's go to Mantra 18. The prayers to the Ishvara, that section, last section from 15 to 18. The first two verses, 15 and 16, speak about how uh, the Rishi is requesting to remove the glaring effulgence of the Brahmajyoti so that he can see the transcendental form of the Lord. And the next two are prayers to the Ishwar. Now, from the Lord's side, the covering is of the Brahmajyoti, but that is an obstacle to reach the Lord. The Lord has to also remove the covering from his side. And the devotee, the Rishi, is now in mantras 17 and 18 praying the coverings which cover the conditioned soul, which are obstacles in order for him to reach the Lord. So that have been discussed in these two verses, and they are very beautiful and very heart-rendering prayers, you can see. So let us recite Mantra 18. Agne Naya Supata Raya Asman Vishwani Deva Vyavunani Vidvan Yuyutyasmaj Juhranayeno Vishtamate Nama Uktim Vidhema. O Lord, O my Lord, as powerful as fire, Agni. So the Lord is being addressed as fire because fire can burn the sins, which are obstacles. O omnipotent one, Rai, Naya offer all obeisances. Tan Nama Uktim Vidhema. Falling on the ground at your feet, Uyishtama. O my Lord, Deva, please lead me. Naya. Naya means no. Jagannatha Swami Nayana Pata. The Nayana Pata means the path of the eyes. So Nayana means also, uh, Naya means to lead also. And one who leads is called as a Nayaka. On the right path to reach you, Supata. Pata is path, right path is Supata, and Vipatha is the wrong path. And since you know, Vidwan, all that I have done in the past, Asman Vishwani Vehunani, please free me from the reactions of my past sins, so that there will be no hindrance in my progress. Yujadya smaj juhurana eno. So the speaker humbly throws himself at the lotus feet of the Lord and begs for guidance and for the help to become free from his karma. So we saw the Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary, which I will not go through now. We discussed this last class, and last class we finished how obstacles on the spiritual path originate. It is because of sins. So we saw in that context, we saw paragraph 1. Vikarma, mm, that becomes a hindrance. Now, today we will see the next theme, that is achieving perfection, the gradual way and the quick way. Okay, so who will read paragraphs 2, 3, and 4? Paragraph 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Self-realization is possible in the human form of life, but not in other forms. There are 8.4 million species or forms of life, of which the human form qualified for Brahminical culture presents the only chance to obtain knowledge of transcendence. Brahminical culture includes truthfulness, sense control, forbearance, simplicity, full knowledge, and full faith in God. It is not that one simply becomes proud of his high parentage. Just as being born the son of a big man affords one a chance to become a big man, so being born the son of a Brahmana gives one a chance to become a Brahmana. But such a birthright is not everything, for one still has to attain the Brahminical qualifications for himself. As soon as one becomes proud of his birth as the son of a Brahmana and neglects to acquire the qualifications of a real Brahmana, he at once becomes degraded and falls from the path of self-realization. Thus, his life's mission as a human being is defeated. In
Okay.
the
Yeah. Just a minute. So I'll just so Prabhupada mentions the first statement is that self-realization is possible in the human form of life and not in other forms. Uh, if you can graphically think of that, you're locked in a dark, closed room, and you have to get out of it. And there are 84 lakh doors, and only one door is open. There's only one door which is open. So that door is like the human form of life. Now, Prabhupada specifically mentions it's not just the human form. The human form should be qualified with Brahminical culture. There only one can obtain, there is a chance to obtain knowledge of transcendence. So this is for devotees to understand that as long as we don't acquire the qualities of a Brahmana, then Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. If you want to know Brahman, absolute truth, then you have to be a Brahmana, whether by birth or by qualification. If by birth you have a chance, more chance, but just because of birth, you have that chance, but it doesn't mean that you directly become qualified. Just like Prabhupada used to give the example of a doctor. The son of a doctor has all the facilities because he has got his parents who are experienced in that field, and he can learn quickly the medical field, and he can become a doctor or a son of a judge. He can also take up to legal practices and then become a judge also. It doesn't mean that because he's a son of a judge or son of a doctor, he automatically becomes a doctor without acquiring the qualification of studying medical or legal subjects. Similarly, the chance more is there when one is born as a son of a Brahmana, but one has to attain the Brahminical qualifications. So this is applicable even for devotees. We have to become qualified through Brahminical culture. And what is that Brahminical culture? Prabhupada is, quoting 18.42 of the Bhagavad Gita. So if one is born as a son of Brahmana, but he's proud and he doesn't acquire the qualifications, then he becomes degraded and his mission is spoiled. It's like that one door is open for him to get out and come in light, and that door also is closed. So again, he's locked in the 84 lakh species of life. So that's what Prabhupada is stating. We will go to the concepts a little later on, if there are some. Next paragraph, paragraph 3, Prabhuji. Yes.
In the Bhagavad Gita 6.41 to 42, we are assured by the Lord that the yoga bragastas or souls,
Brashtas.
or souls fallen from the path of self-realization, are given a chance to rectify themselves by taking birth either in the families or good brahmanas or in the families of rich merchants. Such births afford higher chances for self-realization. If these chances are misused due to illusion, one loses the good opportunity of human life afforded by the Almighty Lord.
Yes. So in this paragraph, Prabhupada doesn't discuss much. He speaks of that one who takes up to the path of self-realization and he, doesn't complete it. It's the souls who have fallen from the path of self-realization. So they are Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashta Abhijayate. So this Suchinam, where Brahminical culture is there, that affords a chance for self-realization. But if you are proud, you again become degraded. Srimatam is a little lesser category. You're born in a royal family, so that your facilities of maintenance of the body are taken care, but you can get attracted to the opulence and become more illusioned, and you might lose that opportunity. So the chances of losing the opportunity is there both in Suchinam and Srimatam. But among the two, Prabhupada says it is more likelihood to happen in Srimatam. And at a subtle level, it is there in Suchinam also, that, I am a Brahmana, others, you look with the inferior attitude, then, you degrade yourself, you commit offenses. So like that, both, there are chances that you can become illusioned and lose the opportunity given by the Lord. So that's what Prabhupada says. Now, paragraph 4 is very interesting, where Prabhupada speaks about the path of self-realization, the gradual way and the quick way. Okay, just go through this, Prabhuji.
The regulative principles are such that one who follows them is promoted from the platform of fruity activities to the platform of transcendental knowledge. After many, many lifetimes of cultivating transcendental knowledge, one becomes perfect when he surrenders unto the Lord. This is the general procedure. But one who surrenders at the very beginning, as recommended in this mantra, at once surpasses all preliminary stages simply by adopting the devotional attitude. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.66, the Lord at once takes charge of such surrendered soul and frees him from all the reactions to his sinful acts. There are many sinful reactions involved in the karma kanda activities. Whereas in Manakanda, the path of
Jnana,
philosophy, sorry, Guruji?
Jnana
Jnana Kanda, the path of philosophical development, the number of such sinful activities is smaller. But in devotional service to the Lord, the path of bhakti, there is practically no chance of incurring sinful reactions. because a devotee of the Lord attains all the good qualifications to the Lord of the Lord himself. What to speak of those of a Brahmana? A devotee automatically attains the qualification of an expert Brahmana authorized to perform sacrifices, even though the devotee may not have taken his birth in a Brahmana family. Such is the omnipotence of the Lord. He can make a man born in a Brahmana family as degraded as a low born dog eater, and he can also make a low born dog eater superior to a qualified Brahmana simply on the strength of devotional service.
Yeah. So here Prabhupada speaks about the gradual way and the quick way. So the gradual way is you go through the karma kanda, then come to karma yoga, nishkam karma yoga. By nishkam karma yoga, you come to the sthita pragya stage, then you are situated in gyan. So from fruitive activities to transcendental knowledge. Then bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sahamatma sudurlabha. So this is how this bhavunam janmanamante means, the jnani, after how many births he will surrender to the Lord until he comes in touch with the devotee. There's no chance that he will get the mercy and come to this understanding of the absolute truth as a person. So it's many, many births means till he comes in contact with the devotee. So that's how, is the gradual procedure. But if one directly takes to bhakti and surrenders himself and takes up to the Navida bhakti, so that is the glorious process. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vaja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishami masucha. So here Prabhupada, two things he does. One is, he mentions the difference between, the other paths, the gradual path, that the sinful reactions are many, and one has to strive himself to get purified. In the Gyan Kand also, the sinful reactions are smaller, but still one has to strive himself. But in the path of bhakti, when one surrenders, Krishna takes. Aham. Krishna is saying, Aham sarva papebhyo. Sarva papebhyo. So, love means reciprocation. And reciprocation happens two way. So if the devotee does sarva dharman paritejya, mam ekam sharanam raja, this is from the devotee side. Then the Lord says, Aham sarva papebhyo. Papebhyo is there, it is bahumachan. you know. So all the sins I will take care. If the devotee surrenders 5%, then Krishna will take care of the sins 5% only. If the devotee surrenders 95%, then Krishna will take 95%. If the devotee surrenders 100%, then Krishna takes care. Sarva papebhyo, aham sarva papebhyo. So to the degree the devotee surrenders to the Lord, to that degree the Lord will reciprocate. Ye yata mam prapadyate. So Prabhupada, that's why he's speaking about the glory of devotional service. There is no chance of inferring sinful reactions, because the devotee has developed all the good qualifications of the Lord himself. So which verse is Prabhupada quoting here? Which verse is Prabhupada quoting here? Anyone knows? Raise your hands. Which verse is he quoting? Anyone? Mohan Rup Sham Prabhuji, which verse is Prabhupada quoting? That the devotee of the Lord attains all the good qualifications of the Lord himself. Virendra Yadav Prabhuji, which verse it is? Anyone else would like to try? No response from devotee. What happened? Lata Mataji?
I'm just thinking, Prabhu.
It's spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, giving some hint.
Something like Madhbhava Masritaha, something like that.
Here, Prabhupada is saying a devotee automatically attains the qualification of an expert Brahmana. No, sorry, a devotee of the Lord attains all the good qualifications of the Lord Himself. What to speak of those of a Brahmana? So, which verse is Prabhupada referring to? Yasyasti Bhagavati Akinchana. Sarves Tatra Gune Sura. So that is the verse. Yasya Asti Bhagavati Akinchana. Yasya Asti. In whom there is Bhagavati unto the Lord. Akinchana. One who performs Akinchana Bhakti or pure devotional service. Sarves Tatra Guna. All the qualities, Sura, of the Lord appear in him. So that is what Prabhupada is. And then a devotee automatically attains the qualifications of an expert Brahmana who can perform yagyas, even though the devotee may have not taken birth in the Brahmana family. So, which verse is Prabhupada quoting here? Anyone knows which verse is Prabhupada quoting here now? It's also another famous verse spoken by Mother Devahuti. Anyone knows? Raise your hands. This is how we should, when we study Prabhupada books, we should mark all these, which verse Prabhupada is quoting here, what is the reference. You should write the shloka there so that next time when we study, we know. So, anyone knows? No hands are raised. Nobody wants to guess also. What? Nityasevini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I don't know, Prabhu.
Very frank answer.
Yes, Prabhu.
So when you know.
Need to read more books, Prabhu.
No more books. You have to read only the basic books.
Yes, that only. Prabhupada's books.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhu.
So, yeah, Prabhupada is quoting the famous verse, which is spoken by Mother Devahuti. Is that I'm also just trying to show it to you all. Let me open the file. Yes, this is a famous verse. I'll just share the screen. Yannamadeha Shavananukirtanat Yat Pravarnad Yat Smaranadapi Kvachit Swadopi Satya Shavanaya Kalpate Utah Punastu Bhagavan Darshana. So one who takes the name, even if he is born in the family of dog eaters, immediately he becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifice. If he takes once, utters the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or chants about him, hears about his pastimes, offers his respects, and remembers him. So this is from the third canto, 36th chapter, 33rd chapter, 6th verse. And the verse about all the good qualities, I was mentioning Prahlad Maharaj verse. I'll just share that. That is auspicious. Yes, this is the verse. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarves gunes tatra samasate sura. Harava bhaktasya kuto mahatguna manoratena sati dhavato bhai. So these are very famous verses. So Prabhupada is directly paraphrasing these two verses here. And here you can understand the omnipotence of the Lord. The Lord can make a dog eater into a Brahmana and a Brahmana into a dog eater. He can make him degraded if he commits offenses. So the Lord is addressed here as O Omnipotent One. O Omnipotent One. So that omnipotence is, here he is addressed as O Omnipotent One. Raya. Prabhupada has translated Raya here as for reaching you. Raya. Agni is as powerful as the sun. Deva is, oh my Lord. So, omnipotent one. So that is what is the Lord. So here we have some concepts to be discussed. We have discussed how bhakti makes us pure from all the sins. So we saw this path. The gradual path is the karma path, gradual elevation by karma kanda to nishkam karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and bhakti yoga. And the gradual and the rapid path is Krishna consciousness, which is a karma technically. And there is the degradation due to weak karma or leading a sinful life without following the Vedas. So Prabhupada is recommending us to take the rapid elevation path of Krishna consciousness, which is Sarvadharman Paritejya. Okay, so paragraphs 3, 2, 3, and 4 we have completed. Paragraph 5 onwards, Prabhupada speaks about Prabhupada speaks about from continuation there is how the omnipotent Lord guides a devotee. That is from 4 to 8. Prabhupada spoke about omnipotence already in paragraph 4. So this continues till the discussion how the Lord guides a devotee till the end of paragraph 8. So we'll go paragraph by paragraph now, although this theme is only one, so that we can understand. So who will read now paragraph 5? Here we can see that how the Lord guides is, he takes care of all our sins. And we develop all the good qualities because the Lord has omnipotence. He purifies us. Although we are most degraded, he purifies us and makes us most elevated. Now further, how the Lord, omnipotent Lord, now guides us is mentioned. Paragraph 5, who will read? Volunteers. Dr. Preeti Mataji can read.
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Since the omnipotent Lord is situated within the heart of everyone, he can give directions to his sincere devotees by which they can attain the right path. Such directions are especially offered to the devotee even if he desires something else. As far as others are concerned, God gives sanction to the doer only at the risk of the doer. But in the case of a devotee, the Lord directs him in such a way that he never acts wrongly. From Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.
Point 42. You want me to read the verse?
Yes, Prabhuji, read.
स्वपादमूलं भजत प्रियस्य यत्त्वान्यभावस्य हरि परेश विकर्म यच्चोत्पतितं कदाचिन् धुनोति सर्वं हृदि सन्निविष्ट. Translation you can read.
The Lord is so kind to the devotee who is fully surrendered to his lotus feet that even though the devotee sometimes falls into the entanglement of the Vikarma acts against the Vedic directions, the Lord at once rectifies such mistakes from within his heart. This is because the devotees are very dear to the Lord.
Yeah. So the first thing, how the omnipotent Lord guides the devotees, because he's situated in the heart. And from the heart, he gives directions to the sincere devotees by which they can attain the right path. So which verse from the Gita you can quote to establish this statement of Prabhupada? Anyone? Which verse from the Gita you can quote for this to establish this statement? Yes, Lata Mataji. Yes.
Is that Avichetu Duracharu? Is that was
No, no. Pavanabal Govind Prabhuji, he's very expert in reciting the verses and quoting the right verses. Yes, Pavanabal
Hare
Govind.
Krishna, Pranam Prabhu.
Yes.
Tesham satatayuktanam bhajatam pradami
Dami buddhi
buddhiyogam
yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Perfect. That is the verse. So that he'll come to me. And only such directions, such directions are given to the devotee, even if he desires something else. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is that thought of the Lord. It is mentioned how the Lord thinks. Sometimes my devotee, he comes to my lotus feet, but still he desires sense gratification. Ami Vigya, I am learned, and he's a murka, he's a fool. Huh? So, but I am learned. Hmm? So what? Swacharnamrita devo visha bulaibo. I'll give my nectar of my own lotus feet so that he can forget sense gratification. So even if he desires something else, the Lord, especially to his devotees, he offers this kind of this. But in the case of non-devotees or others, the Lord is acting as neutral, as Paramatma. Padrishtacha Anumanta. He gives permission, but ultimately the doer is responsible for his actions and he has to bear the reactions. But we spoke about different roles of the Paramatma as the neutral guide, as neutral as the guide, and as Paramatma as rasa. So there is rasa exchange happening between the Lord and his devotee in the case of devotional service. So this is basically here it is neutral, but the Lord acts as rasa and exchanges loving reciprocation. Sometimes the Lord also, even sometimes very pure devotees, or sometimes the Lord associates also might come something wrong from our perspective. But, the Lord directs him in such a way that he never acts wrongly. Even if he commits something wrong, the Lord has a plan. So that's why we should never, never see any fault with even very, very exalted devotees who might commit so-called mistakes, or might act sinfully, And that's why this verse is quoted from the Bhagavatam. This is a very, very famous verse. Swapada moolam bhajata priyasya tektvanya bhavasya hare paresha vikarma yachotpatitam kadachit dhunoti sarvam riti sanyavishta. One who has thus given up all other engagement. Taktva anya bhavasya. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur translation. We saw Prabhupada's translation. And has taken full shelter at the lotus feet. Swapada Mula Bhajata of the Supreme Lord, Paresha, is very dear to the Lord, Priyasya. If such a surrendered soul accidentally commits some sinful activity, Vikarma Yat Chot Patitam Kadachit. Kadanchit. Kadanchit means accidentally or sometime, some mistake occurs. The Supreme Lord Hari, great because of his affection for the devotee, seated within everyone's heart, Sarvam Riddhi Sannavishta, immediately takes away the reaction of sun, such sin, Dhunoti. Immediately it is mentioned. Please remember that. So Prabhupada also has translated this verse, and you can say it's a practical the same. If he acts, the Lord at once rectifies such mistakes from within that. Because Priyasya, he is very dear to the Lord. So here one is, because such elevated devotees are fully surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord. So Prabhupada also has brought out this in his translation, and he has taken full shelter and such surrendered souls. So, even very, very surrendered souls, very pure devotees, very elevated devotees, or very, sometimes the Lord associates also might commit, something which might be abominable, but still one should not see fault because we don't know what's the Lord plan. So any examples, classic examples you can give of any very elevated pure devotees committing some wrong actors, committing some mistake, and the Lord, had a plan by which he purified them and they came back to him. Any examples, raise your hands. Mohan Roop Sham Prabhuji, yes. Aarti Mataji, yes. What is which example?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, Jai Vijay.
Jai Vijay, they, so-called became angry because out of prema, because they wanted to actually, they knew the Lord's desire that he wanted to relish Viryas, and that's why, only if they're inimical, then they can do. So that's why they purposefully, did that act so that the four Kumaras curse them. Yes.
Ajamil, Prabhuji?
Huh?
Ajamil.
Ajamil.
He also deviated from the path and then.
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's not exactly what we are looking for. Ajamil, like not, we are speaking about a fully surrendered soul.
Surrendered soul. Okay.
Yes. Pavanabala Govinda Prabhuji, yes. Yes. Yes, Prabhuji. You have to mute from your.
Yeah, Vritsrasura.
Yes. Not in the body of Rudrasura, but when he was Chitraketu. Yeah, direct.
Even
That
Chitraketu,
Sankarshan, so-called offense he committed to Shiva, but it was the Lord's plan, so that he can come quickly back to him. That's why even in a demonic body, he had prema for the Lord. Had he committed an offense, then he would have degraded. There would be no prema. And those verses, the four essential verses, are considered the essence of Bhagavatam. So any other examples? Sorry. Yes, what were you saying?
Manigriva Nalkuvera.
No, that example will not fit here. Dhirendra Yadav ji. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhu Bharat Maharaj.
Bharat Maharaj, again, it is a little different case. Bharat Maharaj, it's a little different case. The classic one more example is Parikshit Maharaj, pure devotee. He committed a mistake. But the Lord had a plan for him so that the Bhagavatam is revealed and he can come back to his abode. So Parikshit Maharaj more aptly fits here. So there are some slight variations in the so exactly on this, and in the contemporary, uh, life also we see sometimes very, very exalted devotees might commit some mistakes, but we don't know the Lord's plan. That's why we should be very careful not to commit offenses. And there is the case of among the 12 alvas, there was one alvar. Anyone remembers the name? I don't know his name. He's an alvar. He's an eternal associate of the Lord from the spiritual world. The 12 alvas are there. He's one among them. And by Lord's plan, he committed a grievous mistake. He had a union with a Devadasi and he became mad after her. And ultimately, the Lord delivered him. And remember, he is Alvar, he's an eternal associate coming from the spiritual world. So that's why if the eternal associates of the Lord, like Parikshit, the Alvar which I spoke, who have taken complete shelter, who are surrendered souls, if they accidentally commit, the Lord who is seated in the heart will, purify them. So we should be careful that's why we should not commit offense and to such advanced devotees. Okay, so this is another quotation. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Padamulam na munchati the sarva pariklesha panta swasharanam yata. The person with a pure heart, Dhautatma Purusha. His Atma is Dhaut, completely purified, does not give up the root of the feet of Krishna. Krishna Padamulam na munchati. He is like a traveler, Yatha Panta, who giving up all sufferings after earning wealth, Mukta Sarvakrisha, does not leave his house. Swa Sharanam. So the Lord's pure devotees don't leave the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord also holds on to his pure devotees. So he'll not allow sins to come in between, although they are accidentally committed. Okay. Next paragraph. Paragraph 5 we read. Paragraph 6. Who is reading? I think Dr. Preeti is reading, right?
In this mantra of Sri Isho Upanishad, the devotee prays to the Lord to rectify him from within his heart. To err is human. A conditioned soul is very often apt to commit mistakes, and the only remedial measure to take against such unintentional sins is to give oneself up to the lotus feet of the Lord so that he may guide one to avoid such pitfalls. The Lord takes charge of fully surrendered souls. Thus, all problems are solved simply by surrendering oneself unto the Lord and acting in terms of His directions. Such directions are given to the sincere devotee in two ways. One is by way of the saints, scriptures, and spiritual masters, and the other is by way of the Lord Himself, who resides within the heart of everyone. Thus, the devotee, fully enlightened with Vedic knowledge, is protected in all respects.
So here Prabhupada is mentioning that this mantra, the devotee is praying to rectify himself, praying to the Lord to rectify him from within his heart, because it's the prayer is that please free me from the reactions so that there will be no hindrance in my progress to come towards you. So this is a prayer, and Prabhupada mentions that conditioned soul is apt to commit mistakes, and the only remedial against such intentional sins is to throw oneself at the lotus feet of the Lord to avoid such pitfalls. And the Lord takes charge. So this is also, we can understand that such mistakes which are committed also, the Lord has a plan so that the devotee can come more closer to the Lord. Now, in case of Maharaj Bharat, which we have to carefully study that whole pastime, Maharaj Bharat acquired a deer's body, but his, his intensity of his devotion multiplied 1,000 times more. Aturtaha. And in the body of Jad Bharat, it multiplied another 1,000 times more. So his surrender increased more and more. And, all problems, Prabhupada is saying, all problems are solved simply by surrendering to the Lord. And this kind of, direction, which will ultimately lead to surrender, is given from without through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, and within by the Lord Himself. And this is the only way of protecting oneself. Okay, paragraph 5, 6, this is 7. Vedic knowledge. You can read.
Vedic knowledge is transcendental and cannot be understood by mundane educational procedures. One can understand the Vedic mantras only by the grace of Lord and the spiritual master. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha dever tatha gurur. If one takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, it is to be understood that he has obtained the grace of the Lord. The Lord appears as the spiritual master for the devotee. Thus, the spiritual master, the Vedic injunctions, and the Lord Himself from within all guide the devotee in full strength. In this way, there is no chance for a devotee to fall again into the mire of material illusion. The devotee, thus protected all around, is sure to reach the ultimate destination of perfection. The entire process is hinted at in this mantra, and Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, 17 to 20 explains it further.
Okay, 1 minute. We'll go to that. So here Prabhupada mentions that the directions are given from within and without. Within through the Lord Himself, and without through Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. And Prabhupada's statement in the next paragraph continues this same theme and discussion, how Vedic knowledge is transcendental and cannot be understood by mundane educational procedures. And how we can understand transcendental knowledge? By the grace of the Lord and the spiritual master. Yasya deve para bhakti. Yatha deve tata guru. One should have unflinching devotion to the Lord and similarly to the spiritual master. And one can understand whether he has obtained the grace of the Lord if he has a bona fide spiritual master. So the Paramatma who is within manifests without externally in the form of the spiritual master. So that's why this is a very important principle, that as long as we don't accept the spiritual master non-different from the Lord, because he is, sakshat haritvena samasta shastrair. So that's why he's saying the Lord appears as the spiritual master for the devotee. So like this, the spiritual master, the Vedic injunctions, the Lord Himself, so the Guru, the Sadhu, the Shastra, and the Guru in the form of Chaitya Guru, all act as guide for the devotee. That's why there is no chance of falling in Maya again. One is protected, and ultimately he will attain perfection. And this entire process, what is hinted in this, in this particular mantra, Bhuvishte, please free me from the reaction so that there will be no hindrance on my progress. So this is being hinted in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada quotes these, paraphrases these verses. So you read this particular portion last.
Hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord is itself an act of piety. The Lord wants everyone to hear and chant His glories because He is the well wisher of all living entities. By hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, one becomes cleansed of all undesirable things, and then one's devotion becomes fixed upon the Lord. At the stage, the devotee
At this stage,
acquires,
at this
at
stage,
this stage, the devotee acquires the Brahmanical qualifications and the effects of the lower modes of nature, passion and ignorance completely vanishes. The devotee becomes fully enlightened by virtue of his devotional service, and then he comes to know the path of the Lord and the way to attain him. As all doubts diminish, he becomes a pure devotee.
so here Prabhupada is practically quoting, paraphrasing the entire these three verses of the Bhagavatam. This is Shrunvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. They itself act of piety. Ridhantastohya Bhadrani. The abhadras which are situated in the Vidhanoti. The Lord purifies because he is Suritsatam. He is the well-wisher of the devotees. And then Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki. So then his devotion becomes very steady. Prabhupada says it is very steady. So you can see here, then his devotion becomes fixed up in the Lord. Now, interestingly, Prabhupada says at this stage, the devotee acquires the Brahminical qualifications. When do you attain the qualifications of a Brahmana? At what stage? Anyone? From what Prabhupada is hinting here. Yes, Aarti Mataji.
Second initiation, probably.
No. If you just take a second initiation throughout your life, you will never attain like that. There is no, it's not a formal, this that just to take second initiation, you'll become a Brahmana. You'll attain Brahminical
When you
qualification.
surrender to a spiritual master.
No, that's not what is being discussed here now. Surrender is a process, but at what stage? At this stage, Prabhupada is saying. And I've been referring to some.
When you develop a taste for
No,
chanting,
you are going out of the context of the subject. We have been discussing these verses from the Bhagavatam. And it is said, Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. One's devotion becomes fixed up. One attains Naishtiki Bhakti. And Prabhupada is saying, at this stage, the devotee acquires the Brahminical qualifications. So what is the stage?
yeah, the stages of
What is which is that stage?
dharana.
No, we are not practicing Ashtanga Yoga. We are Bhakti Yogi.
Samadhi, dharana.
No, there is no Ashtanga Yoga we are practicing, for your kind information. We don't do Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Are you practicing that?
No.
Practice the Navvidha Bhakti where there are stages of Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anarth Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava and Prema. So which stage is Prabhupada speaking about? Please don't ask questions on the chat box. If you have questions, you raise your hands. Yes, Lata Mataji.
Astha, Prabhu.
Anartha stage, Prabhu.
Pardon?
Anartha Nivritti after that.
What is after Anarth Nivritti stage called as?
Nishtha.
You have to say Nishtha, na then.
Yes.
At the stage of Nishtha, one acquires Brahminical qualification. Not that you take Brahmin second initiation, then you acquire Brahminical qualification. No, don't be under such misconception. You have to be situated in the mode of goodness, Satuguna. And you should have these qualities which Prabhupada spoke about here. where did he speak? Yeah, he spoke about, Brahminical culture includes truthfulness, sense control, forbearance, simplicity, full knowledge, and full faith in God. Patana part, Shamo Damo, Tapa, Saucham, Arjavam, Astikam, Brahma Karma Samhavajam. So that is what we have to develop. Many devotees, think very external, that just by taking second initiation, I'm a Brahmana, they think, because I've taken, second initiation, and many senior devotees and many, very exalted devotees have discussed and told me that, sometimes devotees who take second initiation, they become very proud and they think they are very elevated because now they have second initiation. It's the same as the Brahmanas, who think who are Brahmin in the Brahmana family, and they become proud. So they become more degraded by that. One has to acquire the qualification of a Brahmana. One has to become, be situated in the Satguna. So at the stage of Nishta, when you attain the stage of Nishta, then you have acquired Brahminical qualification. And the effects of the lower modes of passion ignorance are completely vanquished. They completely vanquish. So Prabhupada is quoting here the next verse. Tada rajastamo bhava kama lobadasche chetete ranavidam stitvam sattve prasidati. And next, Prabhupada says the devotee becomes fully enlightened by virtue of and thus he comes to know the path of Lord and the way to attain him. So this is evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavad tattva vijnana mukta sangasya jayati. And then all doubts are destroyed. Vidhyante hriday granthi chindyante sarva samshaya shiyante chasya karmani drushta evatmanishware. So I think I have quoted these verses. This is a verse Prabhupada quoted about Yasya Deve Parabhakti Yata Deve Tata Guru Tasseva Katayita Yartha Prakashanti Mahatmana. So these are the verses. Shushushu Shraddha Dhanasya Vasudeva Kartarachi Swanmat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. So Vishwanath Chakra Thakur mentions these stages and he adds some additional stages also apart from the 9. So there is Mahat Kripa, Mahat Seva, Satam Kripa, good fortune of the mercy of the great devotees. And great devotees somehow come to your house without being invited and you serve them, you do Mahat Seva. And by serving such great devotees, you develop faith, Shraddha. And you take shelter of these great devotees. And then there is a desire for developing, doing also bhajan, bhajaneshu shva. And then Shrunvatam Sakata Krishna, where Prabhupada starts his Punya Shravana Kirtana. So then what happens? Eagerness to worship, bhajan kriya. Then Nidhantastoya Bhadrani, disappearance of obstacles, anarth nivritti happens. Then Nashta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki. So Bhaktir Bhavati, Bhakti. Then actually Bhakti begins. And then there is Anartha Upagamam, disappearance of obstacles, Nashta Prayashu Abhadreshu. Then one has attained Naishtiki Bhakti, Nishtha. At this stage, one acquires Brahminical qualifications. Then Tada Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadaschet Chetete Ranavidham Stitvam Satve Prasidati. So then this stage refers to Asakti. Stitvam Satve Prasidati. Ruchi is there, Rajastamo Bhava Kamalobhadaschet Chetete Ranavidham. Ruchi and Asakti are the two stages in these verses. And then evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. So evam prasanna manaso is rati or bhava. And bhagavad bhakti yogata is prema. And bhagavad tattva vijnanam is actually darshan. We have the darshan of the Lord. And then we experience the Lord's sweetness. Harer madhurya anubhav mukta sangasya jayate. So prema, they has added 2 more stages here, 9, 10, 11. And in the beginning, there is Satam Kripa 12, Mahat Seva 13, and Shraddha 14, like that. Or you can also say Bhajaneshu Spruha, the desire for performing bhajan. So although there are technically 9 stages, there are the other sub stages which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur mentions. So Prabhupada is summarizing ultimately how here Prabhupada is saying how how ultimately we reach the Lord or perfection. We start from the stage of Shraddha and then come to the stage of Prema. As all doubts are diminished, Vidhyante Hriday Granthi, he becomes a pure devotee here, Prabhupada says. So at the stage of Prema, one becomes a pure devotee. Okay, so we have completed this discussion on Mantra 18. Any questions or any clarifications? Anyone has any questions? No. Okay. So then we'll stop here. Shri Isopanisad ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.